I'm going to talk about managing your team's emotional dynamic. This is an important topic because what happens is that teams are made up of people and people have emotions. And so if you're leading a team, there are certain things that will naturally happen in terms of the emotions within that team. Some of those emotions may be good or positive, but some of them might not be so good. And so it's important for you to understand how to manage the emotional dynamic within your team. Before we get into it, let me explain what I mean by emotional dynamic. So when we think about dynamics, we're thinking about how different elements interact with each other. And so when I say emotional dynamic, I'm saying how do the emotions of the different individuals on a team impact the team itself? What effect do they have on one another? Now, sometimes the emotions within a team can be quite positive, right? You could have a team where people are motivated, they're inspired, they're excited about their work. That's a great thing. We all want to work in environments like that. But at other times, the emotions within a team can cause problems. Maybe there's conflict, maybe there's low morale, maybe people are burnt out, maybe there's gossip. All of these are examples of negative emotions or an unhealthy emotional dynamic within a team. And so today we're going to talk about what you can do as a leader to help manage the emotional dynamic within your team. Here are 5 tips for managing your team's emotional dynamic. Tip No. 1 is to build trust. One of the most important things that you can do as a leader is to build trust. When people trust one another, they feel safe, and when they feel safe, they're more likely to take risks. They're more likely to share their ideas. They're more likely to be open and vulnerable with one another. But when people don't trust one another, what ends up happening is that they start to build walls. They start to hold back. They start to be very careful about what they say and do around one another because they're afraid. They're afraid that they might be judged. They might be criticized. They might be humiliated. Or maybe their ideas won't be accepted. And so what building trust does is that it helps break down those walls. It helps create an environment where people feel safe to be themselves, safe to take risks, safe to share their ideas. And this is essential for having a healthy emotional dynamic within your team. Tip number 2, and this is really important, is to practice active listening. The reason why this is important is because people want to be heard, right? People want to feel like their voice matters, that their opinions are valued. And when you practice active listening, what you're doing is you're showing people that you care about what they have to say. Now, a lot of times, what happens is that we think we're listening, but we're not. We're just waiting for our turn to talk again. We're just hearing words. We're not really listening to what's being said. And so practicing active listening means paying attention, focusing on what the person is saying, asking clarifying questions, reflecting back what you've heard to make sure you understand. But most importantly, it's practicing empathy. It is putting yourself in the shoes of the person who is speaking and trying to understand their perspective. Because when you practice active listening, what you're doing is you're building relationships. You're helping people feel valued. And you're creating an environment where people feel safe to share their thoughts and feelings. And again, this is really important for building a positive emotional dynamic within your team. Tip note 3 is to celebrate success. We love to celebrate success in the moment, right? If someone does something great, we shake their hand. We say, congratulations. We pat them on the back. But it's also important to celebrate success afterwards, to take a moment to reflect on what happened, to acknowledge the success, to celebrate the fact that the team did something great. And the reason why this is important is because it reinforces positive behavior. When people see that hard work and great performance is celebrated, they're more likely to repeat that behavior. It also helps build morale, it helps people feel appreciated, and it helps create a positive emotional dynamic within your team. Tip No. 4 is to address conflict quickly. Conflict is inevitable in any team, right? You're gonna have people with different personalities, different perspectives, and at some point those differences are gonna lead to conflict. Now, sometimes conflict can be good. It can lead to innovation. It can lead to new ideas. But usually conflict needs to be managed. And so what you want to do is you want to address conflict quickly. You want to create a culture where people feel safe to speak up, to share their ideas, but they also know how to disagree respectfully with one another. And so the sooner you can address conflict, the better, because conflict can quickly become toxic if it's left unchecked. And so your job as a leader is to help your team manage their conflict effectively. Tip number 5. And this is probably one of the most important tips of all, is to take care of yourself. When you're a leader, it's easy to put everyone else's needs before your own, right? You want to help your team succeed. You want to help your organization succeed. And so you end up working long hours. You end up sacrificing your own needs. You end up neglecting yourself. But the problem with that is that when you take care of everyone else and you neglect yourself, eventually you're going to burn out. And when you burn out, you're not going to be able to help your team succeed. And so it's important to make time for yourself, to recharge, to take care of your physical and mental health. It's important to set boundaries, to make sure that you're not always available, that you have time for yourself and your family, and that you make time for the things that are important to you outside of work. Because when you take care of yourself, you're going to be a better leader, and you're going to be able to help your team succeed. And so these are 5 tips for managing your team's emotional dynamic: building trust, practicing active listening, celebrating success, addressing conflict quickly, and taking care of yourself. Tell me in the comments, which of these tips are you going to start implementing today? Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content.